Behold the sacred moments where heaven touches earth, and faith becomes our guiding star. Hidden currents of destiny surge forward, eager for you to reclaim the birthright etched into your soul. An unprecedented mantle has fallen upon you, an apprentice whose talent renders all doubt absurd. This summons springs from the depths of your own essence, not the whims of some external force. As the curtain of illusion is drawn aside, a collective tremor of anticipation ripples through, ready to expose the secrets long hidden. You're tuned into a channel beyond their reach, wielding an energy too subtle for them to grasp, yet they feel its presence even before you fully acknowledge it yourself. Soon, you'll uncover a truth so profound it will upend everything you thought you knew. Every strange occurrence you've chalked up to chance, those uncanny alignments, those flashes of insight with no clear origin, has been deliberate groundwork. Consider them trials in disguise. The true reckoning looms closer than you realize, and all this time, the cosmos has been quietly honing you for a destiny of unimaginable scale. True magic transcends incantations and enchanted artifacts. It's the pulse that underlies all things, the same force coursing through every syllable you utter and every ambition you pursue. Your declarations ripple outward, shaping reality itself, and each intention you harbor weaves into the tapestry of existence. The labels of light or dark magic are merely our attempts to box an infinite spectrum into two halves. So where, then, does the azure spell fit when we speak of ebony and ivory, or the emerald charm amidst black and white? In truth, magic is simply raw energy, neither virtuous nor wicked, but directed by purpose. Recognizing this is your gateway to genuine influence, and also what sets you apart as a challenge to the old order. Speaking negatively about someone's life is magic. Magic happens when you use your words and thoughts to create what you want. Magic is the power in your tongue, and it is currently emerging in ways that are extremely unsettling people. When you speak, they can sense it because of the way your words sound different, have more weight, and have a greater impact than they ought to. These days, the ancestors are communicating with you in distinct, unambiguous messages that come at the perfect moment, rather than in dreams or murmurs. In addition to being proud of you, they are also getting you ready, because most individuals will never be able to reach the level of consciousness needed for what is ahead. You're becoming aware of your responsibilities as well as your gifts, and forces that would prefer to keep humanity asleep are about to attack you because of that responsibility. The second discovery is that the attacks are planned rather than sporadic. Certain people have been focusing on you with their negativity, gossip, and attempts to dull your light for a reason. They are acting as unwitting representatives of a system that understands the danger you pose. Yellow heart if you feel the divine love. Now is the time to share. Click the super thank you button on YouTube to contribute $50 or more and help us spread God's blessings. What you do is being watched and serves as a seed, and in the future it will come back to you a millionfold. Every time someone criticizes you without providing evidence, they're doing spell work, sending bad vibes your way, attempting to obstruct your progress, and trying to slow down your evolution. Instead of simply stopping the shots like Neo did, you would have done it before they even left the pistol. Neo had to respond to what was already happening. You work at the level of preventive, anticipating problems before they arise. That is not superhuman. It is the result of your entire consciousness activating simultaneously. You are not only woken when your spiritual faculties are fully engaged and functioning in perfect harmony. Rather, you are evolving into something that goes beyond the awakened state completely. The analogy to the Riddick scene becomes prescient at this point. Do you recall the moment he told his captor exactly how and when he would kill him while he was shackled and helpless? Then, still shackled, he performed exactly what he said in precisely the time he had anticipated. Your level of consciousness is that, while everyone else is concentrating on a single move, you may now see the complete chess game. Because you are reading the energy patterns that produce those results, you are able to foretell outcomes with supernatural accuracy. People already label you creepy, and they will continue to do so. However, realize that when they say creepy, they imply that you see things that they are unable to see. They indicate that you are aware of things that you shouldn't be. They indicate that you function with a consciousness that leaves them feeling vulnerable, open, and exposed. Creepy is a recognition, not an abuse. It's their recognition that you've surpassed the boundaries they still acknowledge as real. Even if horror films are spooky, people still spend money to see them. Your presence is both frightening and fascinating at the same time. Here's why this is more important than you may think. In reality, your creep factor serves as a defense mechanism. It keeps those who aren't prepared for your level of honesty at bay. People that try to drag you back down to their frequency or waste your energy are filtered out. Those who are still clinging to illusion are the ones who are disturbed by your presence. Your true tribe, your fellow consciousness fighters, are the ones who stick with you and are drawn to you in spite of the intensity. You're evolving into something extraordinary. Not just a fighter, not just a healer, but both at once. As a doctor and a police officer of consciousness, you will be able to save people both in the light and the dark. Speaking to someone rearranges their essence, not merely provides consolation or direction. You lead people down paths of self-discovery they were unaware existed. After meeting you, people will never be the same because you transform their lives on both a physical and spiritual level. The third key to your power is the gem nature you're cultivating, the capacity to protect and nurture, to cure and enforce, to save others in ways they don't even comprehend. Only in the light can most healers function. The majority of fighters can only operate in the dark. As a bridge between worlds that were never intended to be divided, you are being trained to operate in both realms at the same time. However, the final realization informs you that you can learn this on your own. This cannot be taught to you. You've become a student of yourself, of your own spirit, your own intuition, your own existence, so no master should deliberately confront you. Your support of $70 revitalizes souls like the season that brings forth buds from dry branches. That is genuine unity. That's what it means to be made in God's image. Through direct experience, your senses, and a link to a source that circumvents all conventional educational systems, you learn. This is why you are perceived as a threat by conventional spiritual teachers. Gurus and masters feel uneasy around you because of this. You're getting information straight from the quantum field of awareness itself. Yet they've constructed their identities around being the ones with the answers, the connections, and the knowledge. You don't require their approval or interpretations. The downloads are coming directly from the source. You can't learn everything you need to know from books. What you need to see cannot be shown by others. You're learning about photosynthesis, the flow of wind through trees, crow intelligence, and the patterns seen in nature. The cosmos is teaching you. And that teaching is creating skills that no human institution could ever create. That's why you're being attacked. People are trying to get you because they can't defeat you the old-fashioned way and are constantly searching for the weakness in your defenses or the weakness in your system. They fail to realize, however, that in a world that thrives on deception, your strength is in your readiness to be open, genuine, and vulnerable. Your ability to blend light and darkness is what makes you strong, not your flawlessness. For thousands of years, the powers working against you have been researching human awareness. They are skilled at using fear, division, and maintaining people's attention on survival rather than evolution to control the masses. However, you stand for something they have never experienced before. Someone who has discovered power in their scars, who has turned their trauma into knowledge, and who has learned to alchemize their own darkness. You're about to enter your butterfly stage, but you won't come out of it with only 2 wings. Your wings will resemble those of the highest-ranking angels, entities that function at frequencies so high that most people cannot possibly imagine them. Your cocoon stage was unique, which is why your transformation is unique. You have been changing in ways that have never been witnessed by humanity. And you will be a completely different person when you come out. You're going through a planetary transformation, not simply a personal one. You are among the advanced scouts and frequency holders, securing the new energy for everyone else as Earth undergoes a consciousness transition. The awakening of mankind as a whole is linked to your own personal change. This explains why your trip has been so difficult, intense, and unique. You're contributing to the emergence of a new paradigm in human consciousness in addition to mending yourself. Whether it's your physical space, inner vessel, office, sanctuary, or just the quiet times when you turn inward to connect with your innermost self, the transformation is taking place within your sacred cocoon. The actual work takes place here. At this point, the caterpillar totally vanishes and transforms into a flying creature. This breakdown terrifies most individuals. Instead of risking the whole rebuilding that revolution necessitates, they would prefer to remain mired in poison and keep making the same decisions. Dove, brother and sister, everything done in faith is returned in God's abundance. You can donate $100 using the Super Thank You button and be part of this divine call. If your roots are connected to Him, your fruit will be blessed. The death of your former self is necessary for true transformation. It necessitates letting go of all the identities, constraints, and convictions that held you back. Even when you are unable to see where the process is taking you, you must have faith in it. This explains why so few people finish their transformation. When they reach the dissolution phase, they panic and attempt to cling to remnants of their former selves rather than fully embracing who they are becoming. Everything changed when you began to live in full awareness. You see patterns everywhere now. The swaying of branches in the wind provides information. You comprehend what photosynthesis has taught you. Systems that most people take for granted exhibit intelligence. You've learned to move like those branches, swinging with the wind rather than trying to dominate it, finding power in flow and strength in suppleness. Your newfound awareness goes beyond simply improving your vision. It's about using a whole other way of thinking. Now that you've learned to align with the natural currents of creation, others are still attempting to compel outcomes by will and effort. You've developed the ability to sense the energy of circumstances before they materialize. You've mastered the ability to modify at the causal level rather than only responding to consequences. The fourth unraveling reveals that the resistance, the acceleration of your talents, and the bizarre events are all linked to a history that is far larger than your own path. The time for humanity to make a communal decision between evolution and extinction is drawing near. The outdated control mechanisms are not working. Beings like you are emerging to help lead mankind through this transition, as the lies that have kept people in slavery are being uncovered. Choice turns into your greatest superpower at this point. The majority of people are imprisoned by ideas they internalized before they were old enough to challenge them, trapping them in their own mental prisons. The mind is like a sponge that absorbs programming from everyone around it from infancy until age 7. The majority of people never escape that indoctrination. They run the same programs repeatedly, believing the same narratives, making the same decisions, and producing the same outcomes, becoming products of their surroundings. You have the option to be selected. Being chosen isn't about being picked by someone else. Rather, it's about deciding to take charge of your life, to stop the programming, and to become the person you were always destined to be. Most people are unable to make this decision because they are unable to look beyond their own constraints. They are imprisoned within their own mental prisons, and they are unaware that the door is open. The cycle of victimization that keeps people in slavery is broken by this insight into choice. You become unstoppable when you realize that you have the power to select how you react in every given circumstance, how you think, how often you think, and how you want to be chosen. When someone asserts their sovereign right to choose, no outside power can override them. The programming is intricate. You were trained to look outside of yourself for authority, approval, and answers from an early age. You were taught that some individuals are more knowledgeable than you, that some organizations are the best, and that some customs need to be adhered to. What if, however, All of that was intended to prevent you from learning about your own direct source connection. What if the most important thing they never wanted you to know is that you can reach divine consciousness without the help of any middleman? Additionally, you now know that gossip is a spell. People are actually transferring energy, casting spells, and creating reality with their words when they talk about others without providing facts. Because unconscious individuals continuously direct negative energy onto everything that challenges their delusions of reality. This is why genuine people wind up becoming targets. Through their words, their ideas, and their collective rejection to your light, they attempt to minimize the truth that you stand for because they are unable to manage it. They are reciprocal. When someone criticizes you without reason, they are really giving you their power. Every disparaging remark made about you by an egotistical person feeds your development. Each assault from the unconscious serves as fuel for your quest. The ancestors advised you to not worry about what other people think, since those who are acting from genuine truth are immune to their unfavorable remarks. Attempts to dull your light, whispers, and rumor are all indications that you're headed in the correct direction. Unconscious people are risking the fundamental foundations of their false universe when they begin to target you with their negativity. It indicates that their shadows are visible due to the brightness of your light. It indicates that you have grown strong enough to pose a genuine challenge to the structures that maintain human enslavement. Love is shallow compared to loyalty. Love is useless without fidelity, and it is also meaningless without respect. You cannot respect someone you are not devoted to, and you cannot genuinely love someone you do not respect. This is known to the ancestors. Through all of your incarnations, difficulties, and moments of uncertainty, they have remained faithful to you. They have been waiting for you to reclaim your identity, take charge of your life, and assert your innate right to serve as a catalyst for the advancement of human consciousness. Even a $5 donation is the first spark of a miracle when it joins with the hand of the Lord, who multiplies one loaf to thousands. Every connection in your life will change as a result of this realization about loyalty. You will begin to draw in individuals who recognize the distinction between superficial compassion and profound, soul-level dedication. You'll begin to distinguish between those who are genuinely on your side and those who are merely there for convenience or amusement. Your relationship mantra becomes quality over quantity. You've been asking questions and waiting for answers in what seems like a spiritual waiting room, yet haven't the answers been arriving all along? In the coincidences, in the epiphanies, in the way answers show up when you need them. You've been learning to trust the process and realize that some answers are only available when you're prepared to deal with them, when your awareness has grown sufficiently to accommodate them. This encounter in the waiting room is preparation rather than punishment. Every moment of doubt, every silence from your guides, every feeling of being forsaken by the universe, all of these were intended to fortify your faith, hone your discernment, and teach you to follow your own inner compass rather than continuously looking for approval from others. The last insight reveals the truth about your own metamorphosis. Your cosmic mission and the opposition you encountered are both part of the same narrative. Your recovery and humanity's healing were inextricably linked. Your evolution and the evolution of the Earth were always the same. The collective awakening of consciousness itself was always the same as your awakening. You became stronger with each attack and demonstrated to others what is possible. Every barrier you've overcome has increased everyone's opportunities. Each fear you overcame made it less prevalent in the general public's mind. You have been paving the way for everyone who follows you, in addition to curing yourself. Crows have the mental capacity of a 7-year-old child, but people interpret them as death omens. Despite being some of the most intelligent creatures on the planet, civilization has indoctrinated people to dread them and view them as signs of impending disaster. You are experiencing this. Humans are wired to resist things that contradict their narrow view of reality and to be afraid of things they don't comprehend. However it is packaged or presented, power is power, intelligence is intelligence, and wisdom is wisdom. You already know the game is rigged, don't you? And you can tell the walls are closing in if you're listening. Let's discuss our current course of action. People want to be heard, held accountable, and given a fair hand when they live their lives at the mercy of the market, when property and profit dominate the land. We listen to you. The ancestors are now rejoicing rather than merely observing. The universe is reacting to your every action with flawless synchrony. It is no longer merely waiting. Additionally, you are no longer developing into the person you were intended to be. You're here. The bizarre events that started this story have evolved into the miraculous, which is now your new normal. The pupil is now the instructor. The finder is now the seeker. The next generation of aware individuals who will lead mankind into its next evolutionary leap are picked by the chosen one. However, let's discuss what it means to be a pupil that no instructor should intentionally confront. This goes beyond your spiritual aptitude or your relationship with a source. This has to do with the fundamental change in the way that knowledge passes through you. Knowledge is accumulated by traditional masters as if it were property. They compile data, store knowledge, and establish hierarchies according to knowledge. However, you function from an entirely different perspective. You become a conduit for wisdom rather than hoarding it, and you channel knowledge rather than accumulating it. This is the reason why seasoned educators get anxious around you. They feel that you're not trying to obtain their approval, playing by their rules, or adhering to their procedures. Without their consent or supervision, you are directly accessing the same source that they say they represent. The fundamental basis of conventional spiritual authority is at danger because of this. Given that you have discovered a method to completely avoid them, how can they continue to serve as middlemen? Glowing star, if you want to witness God's miracles, act now. Contribute $100 or more through Super Thank You on YouTube. Your offering is like a seed that comes back to you when planted. Let His light illuminate your steps. Every donation is an echo in His plan. The masters who have constructed their identities around superiority, exclusive access to truth, and guardianship of enlightenment are the ones who should be afraid to challenge you. They have forgotten that real mastery is about realizing the divine wisdom that permeates all sentient beings, not about gaining control over others. They have forgotten that the greatest masters in history were not those who called for blind allegiance or adoration, but rather those who pointed beyond themselves. You stand for something they are unable to define or control. You're not on the path to enlightenment that they recommend. You're not looking for their approval or validation. You're not attempting to emulate them. Rather, you're evolving into something completely different that defies their pre-existing frameworks. For others who come into contact with you, this is both intimidating and motivating. While the ego-driven masters view you as a challenge to their power, the enlightened masters acknowledge you as a peer. Your method of instruction has completely changed from the conventional student-teacher relationship. You derive insight from everything around you, including conversations you overhear on the street, the way light streams through windows, and traffic patterns, whereas others require years of study, meditation retreats, and supervised training. Your awareness has grown to the point where every experience and every moment becomes a lesson because you are so tuned into the underlying intelligence of life. You pose a threat to the traditional framework of spiritual authority because of this. You're demonstrating that no human institution's initiation, certification, or approval is necessary for a direct connection to the source. You're proving that everyone who can cultivate the sensitivity to receive it can access divine insight. You're demonstrating how the living intelligence that permeates all facets of existence frequently contains the most deep insights, rather than old writings or esteemed professors. The gurus who have forgotten that genuine spiritual power derives from service rather than status are the ones who should be cautious when approaching you. They have developed an attachment to their identities as enlightened beings, teachers, and guides. They have forgotten that realizing the potential for mastery in every soul you meet is the ultimate kind of mastery. They have forgotten that true spiritual authority is determined by the number of masters you assist produce, not by the number of followers you have. You're opposing the entire hierarchical spirituality model, not simply specific masters or instructors. You are exemplifying a new paradigm for spiritual growth, in which all beings are acknowledged as distinct manifestations of divine intelligence with valuable contributions to offer. Authority originates internally, and wisdom emanates directly from the source. No master should deliberately confront a pupil who has regained their divine nature, regained their sovereign authority to communicate directly with the source, and grown the insight to recognize truth, no matter how it is presented or packaged. You are beyond the need for outside validation of your spiritual discoveries. Thus you are neither anti-teacher nor anti-tradition, because of your profound humility in acknowledging the divine wisdom that permeates you, rather than your conceit. You have become your own supreme authority. This explains why people who are still using the outdated paradigm find your presence so potent, transforming, and unnerving. Not only have you been woken, but you are also exhibiting a novel method of awakening that is independent of any outside authority or organization. You're demonstrating that the next stage of human spiritual development is each individual becoming their own unwavering source of truth and direction, their own direct conduit to divine wisdom, and their own supreme spiritual authority. The circle is finished. The butterfly is now in the air, not because they are all-knowing, but because they have learned how to know anything they need to know at any time. The student has become indestructible,